While we of the Tobago Business Chamber remain committed to giving our support to the government's cautious approach to the reopening of the economy, and while we are always insistent on the preservation of lives above livelihoods, we still urge the government to be more proactive and creative and innovative in finding ways to get us quickly out of this economic crisis which we are all facing here in Trinidad and Tobago. We've heard from the food importers and distributors about the rising food prices. We are seeing every day more and more businesses closing their doors. We saw with the Trotters restaurant and the members of that group. We've seen now with Cocoa Reef. We've seen it in Tobago also with the Grand Colin. So the point is there are several casualties of this pandemic war, and this requires us to reorganize, re-strategize, and think over the plan and be more innovative and creative as we go along. This is unprecedented and uncharted territory for all of us. However, it's no time for us to throw our hands up in despair and simply say, well, we will bury our heads in the sand and we will remain under curfew and lockdown and state of emergency until this is over. The reality is that we have to find creative ways of living with this virus and living with this pandemic situation and burying our heads in the sand and remaining in a perpetual state of curfew and a perpetual state of emergency and a perpetual state of lockdown is never going to be the solution. We need to be able to get out of this. In that regard, the Tobago Business Chamber is recommending to the government that they immediately consider implementing measures such have been put in place in France and also in New York, whereby you are able to reopen your business sector, reopen your entertainment sector, reopen your restaurants, bars immediately, by simply having legislation that mandates that all staff, workers, and personnel interacting with these bars, business places, and places of entertainment must be fully vaccinated, and that the patrons themselves must also be fully vaccinated. That at least allows you to get these businesses back open immediately. We have to be brave, we have to be bold, we have to be innovative. And the government must not be afraid to, step up to the plate and take the decision to bring that legislation to the table. We, of course, extend our sympathies to Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves of St. Vincent. He tried in his way to bring his legislation, and of course with unfortunate consequences yesterday, and our thoughts and prayers are with him. Notwithstanding that, we urge our government not to be cowed or intimidated. We urge them to stand strong and bring legislation to the table, bring legislation to the Parliament, insisting that persons who are to attend these premises, business places such as bars, restaurants, even you could open back your retail sector fully in that way by simply insisting that persons must be fully vaccinated in order to be patrons at these establishments. Even your cinemas you could reopen once you insist on that vaccination mandate. And this will be the fastest way to get the economy reopened, to get businesses up and running. And as we saw in France, it is also going to be the fastest way to get many of those who are vaccine hesitant, vaccine reluctant, and some of the anti-vaxxers to go out there and get the vaccination. because that was the immediate response in France when the government took that measure and said, look, if you are to enter a restaurant or a bar or a pub or a club, then you must be fully vaccinated. French people went out in their droves, in their thousands, to get vaccinated as a result, because they want to be able to go out and live life again, and the business persons want to be able to open their businesses. So we are saying the government must now bring legislation for mandatory vaccination, and the time is now. We can wait no longer, and we urge the Prime Minister and the government to lead by example, show the nation that all the government ministers, all the government members of parliament are vaccinated. Let them come on TV, let them come on the media and show that they have been vaccinated. They need to lead by example, and therefore they also need to enlist all our soccer stars, our sports stars, have a massive ad campaign to sensitize the public, to encourage mass vaccinations, because that's the only way we in Trinidad and Tobago, and especially Tobago, are going to be able to get back up to speed and get back to business as usual. So we need the government to now take the step, and our call is simple, clear, and direct. The government must legislate to vaccinate.